You became a chiropractor to change lives, but no one showed you how to build a clinic that actually works. This is Adjusting the Mindset, where chiropractors start seeing their practice differently and start building it differently. I'm Dr. Charbel, and this is where that shift starts. Here's a question I want you to sit with before we get into anything else today. If you stepped away from your practice for 1 week starting Monday, what would actually break? Not what you hope would happen, not the version you would tell a colleague at a conference. The honest answer. The one you know at 2 a.m. in the morning when everything is quiet and your mind starts running. Would your team know exactly what to do? Would your patients get the same experience they get when you are there? Would the follow-up calls go out? Would the clinic open at the right standard? For most chiropractors, the answer is no. And that answer, that honest, uncomfortable no, is not a reflection of how hard you work. It's a reflection of what has not yet been built. Today, we're going to talk about operational foundation, systems, structure, the unglamorous work that separates a practice that grows from a practice that quietly consumes the person running it. I know what you're thinking. Systems, SOPs, standard operating procedures. That sounds like a corporate HR manual, not a healthcare practice built on human connection. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you reframed everything for me, and I think it will do the same for you. Think about what a system actually does. When you build a process for how your team greets a new patient, that process protects every future patient from an inconsistent first impression. When you document how a report of findings is delivered, that document protects every future patient from a clinician who is having a hard day. When you create a follow-up protocol, that protocol protects every future patient from falling through the cracks. Systems do not remove the human element from your practice. They protect it. They create the conditions under which genuine care can happen consistently, regardless of who is in the building and what kind of day they are having. And here is the principle I wish someone had handed me in year 1. If a task repeats more than once, it deserves a system. If it relies on the memory, it needs documentation. And if your practice cannot function without you present, you do not own a business. You own a job. That is not a judgment. That is a diagnosis. And the most important thing about diagnoses is that they are fixable. Let me take you back where I started. My first clinic was an 11 by 12 foot room I rented from a family medicine doctor on the east side of Indianapolis. No staff members. A treatment table I borrowed $9,000 from my cousin to buy, and me doing everything. Treating patients, answering phones, handling billing, chasing insurance, marketing, cleaning. Every morning I walked in and held that practice together through sheer personal effort. And for a while, that felt like dedication. Like what it meant to be serious about building something. What it actually was, it was a prison I was quietly building for myself. Because when I was not there, nothing got done, which meant I could never actually be away, which meant the practice did not belong to me. I belonged to it. The shift happened when I stopped asking, how do I do more? And started asking, how do I build something that does not need me to do everything? That question changed everything. Here is the framework I want to give you today. 4 building blocks of operational freedom. Each one simple, none of them easy, all of them worth it. Building block 1. Map the patient journey. Your patient's experience in your practice is a story, and most practices have never sat down to intentionally write that story from beginning to end. There are 6 stages every patient moves through. Discovery, how they find you. First contact, the first phone call or email or text. First visit, from the parking lot to the adjustment table. The plan, how you present care and build commitment. Graduation, how you close the relationship when care is complete. Recare, how you proactively invite them back. Most practices are excellent in 1 or 2 of these stages and completely unintentional in the others. And here's the behavioral truth that sits underneath all 6. Patients will forgive you for a wait. They will not forgive you for feeling forgotten. Confusion is the enemy of trust. Clarity is the currency of care. Pick one stage right now, just one, and ask honestly, where is the gap between what I intend and what actually happens? That gap is your starting point. Building block 2, the SOP engine. Every piece of friction in your clinic right now is a system waiting to be rewritten. SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedure, but I want you to think about it differently. It is your success optimization plan. It's the recipe for a perfect outcome every single time, regardless of who performs it. Every SOP needs 4 things. A trigger. When does this process begin? Steps. What happens in order, written clearly enough that a brand new team member could follow it without asking a single question? An honor. Whose name is attached to this? And 4, a standard. What does it done well actually looks like? Start with the 5 interactions that creates the most freedom immediately. New patient intake, report of findings, daily opening and closing, treatment flow, follow-up, and recare. These 5 processes or interactions touch every patient in your practice every single day. Getting them documented and delegated removes you from the operational loop in the areas where your presence is least necessary and most draining. And here's the insight worth writing down. Consistency is more valuable than charisma. You cannot scale charisma, but you can scale a system. Do not perfect your first SOP. Just document it. A rough documented process beats a perfect, undocumented one every single time. Building block 3, your technology. Most chiropractors accumulate technology the way they accumulate equipment, a little at a time, based on whoever recommended most recently, without ever stepping back to ask whether it all works together. Your technology has 4 jobs in your practice. Memory. Where does patient information live so your brain does not have to hold it? 2. Voice. How do you maintain connection with patients between visits without manually doing it yourself? Reach. How does your message find new patients while you are treating existing ones? Clarity. How do you know whether the practice is actually moving in the right direction? The golden rule is simple. Choose tools that talk to each other. Integration creates clarity. Forced complexity kills momentum. And if a tool feels heavy, if using it takes more effort than the value it returns, you will not use it. Simplicity wins because simplicity gets repeated. This week, look at every piece of technology your practice uses and ask 3 questions. Is it actually being used? Is it making something easier or harder? Does it connect with everything else? Keep what works, add what's missing, and cut what creates friction. Building block 4, the weekly freedom audit. This is the one that holds everything else together. Most chiropractors build systems during a moment of motivation and then let them drift. The SOP gets written and filed. The patient journey gets mapped and forgotten. 6 months later, the practice is running on memory and improvisation again. The antidote is a 15-minute once a week, every week, without exception. 4 questions. What repeated tasks am I still doing myself that deserves a system? What did I delegate this week? What friction did I eliminate? And what is the one thing I can document, delegate, or remove before next week? That ritual, done consistently, is what keeps the freedom you are building from slowly collapsing back into chaos. Freedom is not found, it is built. One system at a time, one documented process at a time, one delegation at a time. Now, let me address the objection I know is sitting in the back of your mind right now. I do not have time to build all of this. I hear this constantly, and I understand it. You are already stretched. Adding one more thing to the list feels impossible. But here's the reframe that changed how I think about this. Every hour you spend doing a task that should be systemized is an hour you're choosing to spend on it again next week, and the week after, and the week after that, indefinitely. The time you invest in building a system is paid back every single time that system runs without you. You're not saving time by avoiding systems. You are borrowing time from your future self and paying it back with interest. And the chiropractor who says, my practice is different, my market is different, this will not work for me, I want to say this directly. The principles do not change. The application might look slightly different in your specific market, your specific clinic size, your specific patient population, but the truth underneath them all is universal. If your practice depends entirely on your presence to function, it's fragile. And fragile things break. Let me say that again. It is fragile, and fragile things break. Here's what I want to leave you today. Go back to that question I opened with. If you stepped away from your practice for 1 week starting Monday, what would break? Write your honest answer down. Not the version that sounds good, the real one. Because whatever you just wrote, that is your next system to build. Not all of them, just the next one. The goal is not to build a perfect practice overnight. The goal is to build a practice that is slightly more free this week than it was last week. This is how freedom compounds. This is how practices grow beyond the founder. This is how you go from owning a job to owning a business that serves your life instead of consuming it. One system this week. That's all I'm asking. If this episode sparked something, send it to one chiropractor you actually care about. A quick review helps another chiropractor get what they need, and it means the world to us. And if you're ready for more, grab your free resource at pulsepointpractice.com/free.